One of the things that speeds up my workflow, specifically when I'm first starting out on a ZBrush model, is using primitives. And even though ZBrush does give you quite a ways of creating primitives, like if you choose one of these objects right here and then initialize them, or use the Polymesh 3D and initialize it here as a cube or a cylinder or a sphere or a grid, or even using ZBrush's own insert mesh primitives brush. However, I find these to be lacking in some of the things that I need, so I created my own insert mesh brush. It's easy enough to do in ZBrush, and I've created two versions of it, one that I'm giving away for free and another one that I'm giving away for a nominal fee. The one that I use, of course, is the one that has more primitives. So the one I'm giving away for free has 15 primitives, and the one that I am giving away for a nominal fee has 33. And I'll go ahead and show you how they work. So basically you just go to load brush and load them in. So of course there are the two, and so I'll start out with loading the core one. So the core one is the one that has 15 different brushes or 15 different primitives. And as you can see here, I have 3 different versions of cubes, 4 different spheres, 2 hemispheres, 3 cylinders, and 3 different pipe shapes. And these are all topologically quadded. So here, if I go to the gizmo or the move, you can see that I've got a basic cube and I've got it subdivided once, subdivided twice. So that basically saves me a couple of steps. I can bring these in pretty quickly by either just drawing them onto my existing mesh, or using the mesh from brush function in the geometry and modify topology section. So this mesh from brush option right there. And I also have a really basic sphere, and then that's subdivided once, subdivided twice, and spherized, so it is in sphere shape, and subdivided yet again. So again, instead of doing those steps, I can very easily just go to the specific object that I need. Then I also have a couple of semispheres, and these are actually closed up. So they are closed in the back. And then I have cylinders, and notice that these cylinders don't have a pole here. They're all quad cylinders, and I've got that subdivided once and twice. And then I've got a pipe object, which basically has a really simple version, then the subdivided and the subdivided again. So notice also that these all of these have polygroups already done as well, which is really useful. And they are, again, really easy and quick to add. So let me go ahead and load up the Pro version. And the Pro version has, again, as I mentioned, the exact same ones that we have before, but also has these two, and let me switch over to Move again so you can see them, has this one right here, which is a icosasphere, I guess, and the octasphere. So these are ones that are actually also available in the ZBrush primitives, but I thought they would be useful, so I included them in the Pro version. And then everything else is the same, except there are 33 different objects or primitives instead of 15. And the additional ones are those 2 spheres that I showed you earlier, plus the capsule, but the capsule is all quadded, and also a semi-capsule, again closed up at the end, in 2 different resolutions, and then this shape right here, which is an extended cylinder, and the extended cylinder with a hole. So I ended up using a lot of these when I'm working, so I just made quick ways of accessing them. Then I've got a chain link, which is a really simple one, and then a subdivided version, and then these U shapes and these kind of U 90-degree shapes that I use to basically put on models as placeholders for things to attach with ropes or hooks or whatever. And then I've got a cylinder, that is a T-shaped cylinder, or a kind of an intersected cylinder. Again, that's all quads. And then I've got a plus cylinder, again 2 cylinders intersected together. And notice that I do have creasing on these. And then I've got this shape, which I'll show you what it is. I use this as a subtractive shape quite a bit. And then last but not least, I've got these 2 shapes, which basically are grids, but they are diagonal grids. So I find these really useful to use, specifically if I do, and I'll just go ahead and go to the ZModeler brush, do things like this, where I go ahead and inset these. and do just the border, and I can create a very quick mesh. Let me do that with all the polygons. I can create a grill like this pretty quickly, and I can create a thin one, a thick one, etc. And the nice thing about this also is that if I dynamically subdivide it, it goes ahead and gives me this type of a grill with holes in it. So, and I've got two versions of these in the brush. So here, let me switch back to the Pro brush here. And so I've got a planar version of that, and I also have a spherical version or a cylindrical version of it. So here, if I switch to that, you can see that it's the same shape, but it's cylindrical. And again, if I go to the ZModeler brush and do the same thing, I get this type of shape pretty quickly. And if I don't have it dynamically subdivided, I think I did a subdivision here. Let me delete the higher subdivision. And if I don't have this dynamically subdivided, then it creates this shape. So again, they are two different ones, and the basic one is most what everybody needs. But if you do need these other shapes as well, then you can pick up the Pro version. So hopefully this helps you, and happy ZBrushing. One last thing I forgot to include in the video, and so here it is a couple of things. One is to show you how Mesh from Brush works. So here, for example, if I want to use this specific shape, I can just select it, and then I can just click on go to Geometry, Modify Topology, and click on Mesh from Brush. And what that will do is it will replace the existing mesh that I have, or the existing subtool that I have, with this specific subtool. So there it is. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is how to use this one shape over here. So if I click on this shape, I can go ahead and add it to my existing object. So there it is. And I use this shape quite a bit to create a mechanically kind of cutaway to some sort of a place where a screw is going to be added and whatnot. So there's one, and usually I use this as, again, as I mentioned, as a subtractive shape. So I'm going to go out of perspective mode here and make sure that I've got this at a 90-degree angle. And then I'll go ahead and just split that off. So here I'm just going to split the unmasked points. So now I've got two different subtools, and then this one I would set to subtractive mode. And what I'll do here is I'll also create a second one. Because I usually have a few of these. I can create a third one, or using array mesh I can create a whole bunch of them, or I can actually even add them to an IMM curve brush and draw them out as well that way. And so now these are all subtractive. So here, if I go to live Boolean mode and switch out of polyframe, you can see that it basically creates this shape. So it's kind of a nice shape to create, and usually these are smaller as well. So I can just scale these down and maybe move them out a bit, like so. So they can kind of create this shape. And what's really great about these is that now if I go to dynamic subdivision, since these are topologically sound, they will subdivide really nicely and give me these nice clean edges. So this one is a really useful one to use as well. And I, again, use it just as a subtractive shape, and I use it quite a bit. So it's nice to have. And then I can just add that to existing objects and get things that look more or less like this, right? And then I can just use another IMM brush with screws and whatnot to put the screws in here, but this kind of creates this shape, and yeah, I thought it would be a great way to show it to you. Another really quick thing here, and I'll use my mesh from brush function again to show you that, is that if I'll go ahead and delete these now, and go to this specific shape right here and use mesh from brush to bring it in. And the nice thing about this again is that it is a fully quadded model, and it is sub D. So what I could do here is, if I want my screw hole to be a lot longer, like I can do that very easily. I can make it longer or shorter, right? So it's easy to modify these as well. And then also I can set this at an angle and whatnot. So again, just having the right topology for these things really makes a big difference. So hopefully you find that helpful, and thanks again for watching.